Right, hello and welcome to the next episode of Love One Life. I'm Fred, this is Drea, we are your hosts, and we're going to be talking today around decision and effective decision making. So are you ready for some top tips?
Let's go.
Oh,
We've touched on some of them.
Did you know that we make 35,000 decisions every day?
I created the buckle up sesh, and that's where I come through in my white horse. Go, let's buckle up, baby.
If you get your thought, great.
It's brilliant. It's just what you're thinking.
Really interesting study done 15 years ago around parole hearings. So people looking to get out of prison.
Okay.
The later in the day you're hearing, the more likely you were to have it rejected. And the earlier in the morning the judge heard your case, the more likely you were to be set free.
Overthinking is your enemy here. In the past, where I've struggled to make decisions and procrastinated, I felt ill with it. I felt paralysed with it. Procrastination. So, when you go into one of the big organizations like Costa, and then they're like, "You want a mocha, choco, loca, like grande?" Like, I'm
Do you want this with that? Do you want
my
that
lord,
with that?
can I just have a cup of tea?
Right, hello and welcome. We're going to be talking today around decision and effective decision making. Now, this is a subject area that really affects everybody in life. I know I've been affected significantly, and we've got a few topics to cover, but did you know that we make 35,000 decisions every day?
And I think that's probably an hourly ratio for me. Constantly feel like I'm making decisions
Do
all
you?
of the time. Now, it does feel like that. There's a lot to think about all of the time. And there's the small decisions, there's the big decisions in life. The big decisions are the ones that we remember mostly. But the small ones, like what socks are you going to wear and what you're going to have for breakfast. Those tiny ones, they all add up.
They really do. And so as we go into this podcast, what have people got to look forward to?
Okay, so we're talking about decision, procrastination, fear, the reasons that we don't make decisions, how it might hold us back, and some nice top tips to help people maybe move forward with their decision-making processes.
Brilliant. So if you are struggling with decision making or feel you have procrastination and indecision in your world, or maybe you're just tired,
I'm so tired.
decisions, listen in. If you've not heard of us before, please do subscribe to our channel. Wherever you're listening, we're going to make more content for you like this. It's all about enjoying life, learning to love the life you have, make the most of it, and really be fulfilled in your future.
35,000 decisions. How good are you at making decisions, Fred?
I think it does depend on the topic area, and I think a lot of people are like this. Some things I'm really effective in making decisions, and other things I struggle with. For example, maybe in the workplace, I might be good at making a decision here, decision there, decision there, but come home and think, do I want to have a different car?
Come home and think about cars. Well, that's new.
I need to buy a new this, or should I not do that, or should I make this thing and put it out?
Yeah.
That's where there may be the more indecision.
I think that over the years, you have got better at making decisions. I think you've got pushed into making decisions by me. I'm not wrong there, no?
No?
And I also personally feel like I am somebody who cannot bear not making fast decisions where it counts, like the normal day-to-day stuff. I just have not got time to not just move on.
You really struggle when people aren't making decisions.
Yeah.
It drives you mad.
It does.
So if I'm having one of these indecisive type days where, should I do this or should I do that? What do you do?
Well, I actively encourage you to get on with it.
AKA kicking my ass.
Well, I think I strip it back, don't we? And I think we try to look at really what's holding you back from making the decision, because that's the point. It's the core thing. What's holding you back from making this choice? I say yes to pretty much everything. So now I'm just like, you want to do that? You should totally do that. You want to buy that car? You should totally buy that car.
At which point I go, what? Now I need to make the decision on my own. I don't want to buy that car because I can't afford it.
So I get you to the point where you're looking at the real reasons that may or may not be holding you back. But there's a lot of decisions for you to make on the day. And most of them are about cars, guys. Let's not Be about the bush here. It's always a big card.
All right, so let's look at, so there's 35,000 decisions every day,
Yeah.
and you make around 200 to 250 decisions just around food and drink,
I can
which is
to that.
insane, really, isn't it? And so what would you say in terms of decision fatigue, if we take that as a topic and we talk to people, how can we help people with decision fatigue? And what is it, I suppose?
Okay, so an example of decision fatigue is perhaps being at work. I'm a leader. I'm in charge of a lot of stuff. And there's a lot of questions coming at me all of the time. Certainly in the past, there was a lot of questions coming at me. What should we do about this? What should we do about that? Should we do this? Should we do that? Okay. And so I'm making all those decisions because it's my job and I have to. And then I come out of my work zone and come into the home zone. And then I've got the family going, like, what's for dinner? Are you going to make anything for dinner? What do we have in for dinner? Do we have any food? I don't even know if we've got this. And I am done. I am spent. I'm like, I don't know. I've got nothing left in the tank.
Fred.
Yes, Fred. Please. But I think that would be a really good example of decision fatigue when you've just got nothing left in the tank. And so even just the most basic decisions, there's a struggle to even making them.
With decision fatigue, there's a really interesting study done around 15 years ago around judges. Apparently, this was around parole hearings, so people looking to get out of prison. The later in the day you're hearing, the more likely you were to have it rejected. And the earlier in the morning the judge heard your case, the more likely you were to be set free. Isn't that incredible? And what they put it down to is the fact that the judges were dealing with so many cases during the day. As the day wore on, they reached decision fatigue. And so the natural and safe thing for them to do is to reject a case and just think, next.
Huh?
Next. And so, to think that your personal freedom is on the line based on somebody's fatigue.
Yeah. And
incredible.
I think as a felon, you just want to be making sure that you were getting in front of the judge early. That's what I'd be wanting to do.
If you snooze, you lose.
It's really awful. But that's human, isn't it? It's human nature. And I think what that was to show is that we are all human. No matter about this whole AI tech piece coming in, the real decisions get made through probably emotions, fears of missing out, tiredness, that type of thing.
Just on this decision fatigue, I remember when I worked in the rail industry and the clients would want between 6 and 8 hour meetings once a month. And it was exhausting because myself and one other person would be handling around between 8 and 12 of them in a room for 6 to 8 hours. And I remember that the morning might go okay. We'd really struggle to get them to agree to having lunch. They really wouldn't want to stop.
Yeah.
They wanted to keep powering through. There were so many things to discuss with all these rolling stock, trains, locomotives. Yeah. And by sort of 3, 4, 5, and then sometimes we went up to 7 o'clock at night, with a lot of decision making. And it was exhausting.
And they didn't want to stop for lunch or anything.
They wanted to keep going and going and going. And I'm like, well, I do need feeding.
Yeah.
I do need food.
You're a big growing boy.
But I remember that decision fatigue when you get to the point where you think, I just want this to end. And so you'll make decisions to make the situation end rather than making the right decision.
Based on that.
Yeah, and that's decision fatigue. So before we move on to then procrastination and indecision.
Well, there's many little tips and tricks there, I think.
Things like reducing the number of decisions you've got to make. What if, 35,000 decisions in a day, what if you could really collapse that and say, well, we've pre-planned the meals for the week. Don't need to think about that all week now. I've pre-planned where I'm going all week. Don't need to think about that now. I know when I need to go to the gym and do my exercise, and I've pre-planned all that. So that's all set. And I'm not going to question it when I get there. I'm just going to do it because I'm not going to decide.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're lowering the number of decisions you have to make. And then other top tips are obviously the time of day. Don't be making decisions too late in the day when you're tired.
Yeah. And, there are people like heads of global and billionaire places where they only have like dark t-shirts to wear or one pair of jeans or one pair of one t-shirt or something. I think Simon Cowell's one of them, isn't he? Yeah.
Stephen Bartlett.
They're just like, we ain't got time to be thinking about what we're wearing. We're going to get good quality, whatever. And then that's going to take my mind out of that space where I have to make these boring decisions is probably what they'd call it. But if you're some kind of fashionista, that's really not the one for you.
And it works for children as well at school. Having a school uniform really helps children.
Yeah.
know that not only can they not be picked on for looking different to other kids, depending on how much their clothes cost, but also
Yeah.
there's less decision for them to make. You wear the same thing every day, so you don't need to think about that.
Yeah.
That's one less decision. And the same with going into a restaurant and looking at a menu, and you see sometimes they're like,
Oh
wow,
my gosh.
why is there so much choice? And then the really effective menus are where actually they've really limited your choice to a few things. And you go, well, I've only got about 5 things to choose from, so it's that one.
That. It's, when you go into one of the big organizations like Costa, and then they're like, you want a mocha, choco, loca, the hot,
Yeah.
like grande. Like, I'm
Do you
like,
want this with
oh my
that
Lord,
with that?
can I just have a cup of tea? I just want a tea.
Too much.
I'm really basic when it comes to those things. I feel like, please don't give me all this option. I just can't bear it.
So decision fatigue, there's some things you can do there and it's getting tired. So the next one we're going to pick up is procrastination
And indecision.
and indecision.
What's the difference, Fred?
Procrastination is where you've already made a decision or mostly made the decision and you're just not implementing it. You're not pushing forward. You're sitting on the fence, but you know what you want to do. Indecision is where you can't choose between one thing or another thing, or whether or not you want to do something or not do something. So you can be an indecision, then you can make a decision and move into procrastination.
Beautiful
Yeah,
place
but
to
it's-
be. It sounds great.
But it's nice to know the difference between the two.
It's true. Where do you most struggle, do you think?
Procrastination, probably.
Yeah.
I think, indecision is, okay, I can make a decision,
Yeah.
but then I don't fully implement it. And sometimes we've had the conversations where you said, Fred, we've talked about this. We already agreed it. She makes me shake
I
hands
do
with her
make
on decisions. And
Good with that? We're going for that? Like, do I need to get this written down?
so
Yeah.
doing that, and I sort of know in my heart that sometimes I get help from you.
Yeah.
So let's talk about procrastination.
Okay.
Tell me what we did recently and what Drea has. We're going to probably trademark it, sell it. What did we do recently to help go through some business decisions, really?
There were some business decisions that you have been struggling with for quite a while, quite a long time. I created the buckle up sesh. And that's where I come through in my white horse, go, let's buckle up, baby. And I get my
Me, if you get your thought.
it's brilliant. It's just what you're thinking. No, it's not. And then I get my big whiteboard, huge big whiteboard and my mark pen, and we go through and we list out all of the decisions that have to be made. We usually categorize it. And then we are not allowed to move on to the next decision, even if they interlink, even if they are like, but if I do that, that means this. Even if it is like, let's make this basic decision before you are making the next basic decision. So we will not move on. And we will not even discuss the other stuff. We have to stay on topic. We have to stay focused. And we have to look at the best and the worst case scenarios and what's possible and what's not possible. Because a lot of the things that we do is like in tech. And so we're like, well, can we do that right now? And is that going to jeopardize us if we make all these decisions? And then we get to the computer, it's going to go, no, computer says no. We're like, oh, we made that decision.
And that is a thing in terms of not only on the book club section, which we'll come back to, but
Yeah.
there's a really great point there that sometimes you make a decision and then you try and implement it
Yeah.
because you've fully engaged and made the decision. And then it turns out, no, you can't do that thing. But at least you know, because if you'd not made the decision, you wouldn't have tried to implement it. You wouldn't know that it's actually not going to work out.
And then you also get to understand your gut feeling when you make that decision. So if you do have to change it, we're still going back to the gut feelings of why we made that decision in the first place. And that's always good to remember why you made the decision in the first place. Why did you buy the car? Why did you do the thing? Why did you I did it for this. Great. So what has changed? Well, nothing has changed. Fantastic. So let's work another way around it.
That brings me on to stick to plan A. So we have a phrase that I use a lot and it's let's stick with plan A.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason we had that is we would at times have lots of options, wouldn't we, in front of us. And we could do this, but then there's always a plan B, plan C, plan D.
Yeah.
And then I would say, if we're in doubt and if we don't know what we're doing, let's stick to plan A because plan A was the first plan we came up with. So therefore, it must have been closest to our gut feeling of what we felt, which comes back to the whole gut feeling piece.
Yeah.
But it's really useful and it helps me even so many occasions when we've been unsure what to do and we say, if we're not sure, let's stick to plan A. And we do. Yeah. And it generally helps us.
Oh, 100%. I remember back in the day, it was if in doubt, kick it out and let's stick to plan A. I remember because I was supposed to be going to an award show. Do you remember? And I was feeling a little bit poorly and unwell and I was just tired and I didn't want to go. And I'm like, I'm not even going to win anyway. Yes, I'm shortlisted, whatever. I'm not even going to win anyway. And I remember you just going, Rhea, let's stick to plan A, let's go. And I was like, oh my, I went and I won. I was really glad that I went.
If she'd not turned up, if she'd been going to stay at home and not feeling great, she wouldn't have been there to receive the award and
Yeah.
get the ceremony and everything else that came with it. So yeah, stick to plan A.
Yeah.
And it needs to be a good justification to change from it. So going back to the buckle up session.
Sure.
So it's about powering through decisions. And often when you've got a lot of decisions, they feels like they're intertwined, particularly if you work in a kind of complex environment. It can feel like, well, I can't make one decision here because that affects this decision here. And that's also linked to this decision here. And that may be people, that may be things, that may be whatever it is. But your way really helps someone like me who can overthink and overcomplicate things maybe a little bit. And so it's like, no, we're going to pick one and we're going to nail it regardless of the other things.
Yes.
And then we're going to pick them off one by one in an order, because ultimately the complexities get too much for people. And I know the feeling where you feel overwhelmed with decision weight because it feels like there's so many variables.
Yes.
And your book club session was a really great way of cutting through the variables and saying, no, we pick one, we solve it, that moves on to the next one, that decision's already been made. So you disconnect the variables a bit, and then as you go through, it builds back up.
Yeah. And I think the key thing about this is simplicity. And I'm very keen on simplicity in all areas of life, because I think that sometimes we make things too complicated for no good reason. I really do. So let's just cut the crap, talk about what really matters, and decide based on that.
Absolutely.
That's what you get in a buckle up session. Contact me if you want one.
Which is not.
It's pretty savage sometimes. I'm not going to lie. It doesn't feel comfortable all the time, does it?
Now, I find them highly uncomfortable and sometimes quite perturbing. But we come out the other side with decisions made. When I talk about my own 7Q method, which is a planning method, a language of change, that was made and created from the frustration of complexity.
Yeah.
People overcomplicating things, particularly that was in large organizations. But when things get so complex, you can't make a decision, then it can't be helping you, that method, that way of going through, which leads to then indecision. Because we've gone through procrastination, which is, oh, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I should go ahead. What if? I know I like to talk about fear of wasted effort leads to procrastination for me. What if I do all this and I get nothing out of it, and I've wasted time and I've wasted money? And so that stops me doing it, which is crazy, because then you don't know. And often you do find you've maybe wasted some time or money, and maybe you're not, but you don't know until you do it. So it's best to make a decision. So when you're in indecision, which is which way shall I go, what's your tips for people?
It's really quite simple. It cut down on that time of that decision factor, because overthinking is your enemy here. So it is getting the decision and then probably going with the information you have at that point. There's not much more you can do about that than the information you have at that point, and try and make faster decisions. And throughout my life, I've found that that's to be far more kind of conducive to a nice, healthy feeling inside than in the past, where I've struggled to make decisions and procrastinated all of the things. And I felt ill with it. I felt paralysed with it. Procrastination paralysis, if you like. But I find, do you know what? I'm just going to press that button and go and see what happens. And then it's like, oh, okay, that wasn't so bad. And so the more that you do that, and the more that you make faster decisions, the easier that becomes. It's almost like practice.
And it feels better because you're loading or unloading, should I say, things off yourself in the process. Yeah. It reminds me often of Mel Robbins' 5-second rule, which, we talk about making a decision maybe in 5 minutes when you look at all the details, but it's a great tool as well to think, I've got 5 seconds, I've got a decision to make, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, what's my gut feeling? Say whatever comes into your head, just use your gut feeling and say the thing. Right, that's probably going to be as best an answer as you're going to get. You can spend the next 3 days thinking about it, and you probably won't get a much better answer than the one you came up with in that 5-second countdown.
I think there's practice pieces about it. We have a family member who really struggles with decisions, and we have to try and put decisions in front of that person in order to practice. What do you want? What do you want? And they'd rather take the decision and make you decide rather than them decide themselves. And so I always pushing it back. So maybe this is not even you that you're thinking of, but you have a loved one who struggles with this. Same way that I've had friends that struggles with it, but helping them along and helping them practice make smaller decisions based on what they want and not what they think might be deemed as right or wrong is also really helpful for other individuals. Like, you should help your family where you can.
And that comes on to a really interesting point, actually, that not only do people have decisions to make. But if you need to help people make their own decisions, then maybe there's some tips there
Yeah.
that we've just discussed. But if you're used to letting other people make decisions for you, then ask yourself why. You're probably afraid of your own decision making, so you're giving it to somebody else. And there's probably a part of you that then gets maybe cross with other people when they don't make the right decision for you, that it's their fault. And you're not taking accountability for the fact that you handed over the decision making process to someone else. And therefore, you're at the mercy of their decisions.
I think it's really shady. I'm going to be real with you. When other people make you make the decisions and then they tell you off after because it wasn't quite the right one, that's a shady place to be. Don't be that
Yeah.
person.
Which outfit should I wear? That one. I wore it and it was the wrong outfit. It's your fault.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't be that person.
So we've been through decision fatigue, procrastination, and indecision. Now, there's some really effective tools that we use and I've learned to use. And one of them is pre-decision. So, in the morning when you wake up and you might be planning to go to the gym, but as soon as you're lying there and you're thinking, you're now asking yourself, should I go? Should I not go? And more likely than not, you don't go. When you pre-decide, you decide the night before, I'm going to the gym tomorrow. I am going to the gym tomorrow. And so you take the decision. And then when you wake up, you just follow the decision that's already made. So now you're not procrastinating. And now you're not sort of failing to go to the gym because you've just made that decision. And there's another thing I linked to pre-decision, which is then preparation. So preparation massively improves the chances of executing on your pre-decisions. So I decide to go to the gym tomorrow. I get my stuff out. I pack my bag with my clean clothes. I get my gym gear out that I can go to the gym in. And so when I wake up in the morning, I've not only avoided the decision-making process, I'm already going to the gym. I've decided. I just have to decide to get out of bed. That's still
a tough one.
But everything's already there. There's
Yeah.
no barriers. Because when you're making decisions in the morning, should I go to the gym? Oh, my stuff's not ready. I've got to get everything out. That's when you slow down. So pre-decision combined with preparation can make a huge difference. And that's also the same for meal planning. Meal planning is, I'm going to go and buy these dinners and then I go and buy the food. So it's now prepared. There's things in the fridge for each meal. So the decision is made. Now I just need to execute at tea time, chop it up, put it in a
And
pan,
then
whatever.
decide who's going to execute it.
Debate over who's doing what. But it really reduces the likelihood of making a crap decision later on because you've taken the easy route out because there's too many barriers that you've perceived in your way.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely right. Taking the barriers out to help get further for yourself, for your own health and well-being, because a lot of the things that you're talking about here do touch on like health and well-being, don't they? Diet and exercise, because I don't think that people spend enough time thinking about themselves or doing stuff for themselves because probably they've got so many other things to do, so many other decisions to make, so many other responsibilities, don't they?
They absolutely do. Who knows the term, I'm a bit busy? I've been a bit busy to do that. And of course, in our hearts, we know that there is time in the day. And some of the busiest people still find time to spend a couple of hours scrolling, at least on their phone.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of hours of Netflix. And so we do always have time. We have to make time. And again, that's a decision to make sufficient time to look after ourselves. Because being good to yourself is also a choice. That's a decision.
Yes, it is a decision. Like this year, I've had to decide to look after myself a bit more. That's all it comes down to is making that time, isn't it? And sometimes the decision is making sure you're going to have to let other things go in order to do that. It might be normally you'd catch up with friends, but this time actually you're just going to have a bit more me time and you're going to go to the gym, or you were supposed to have this meeting, but in fact, that meeting probably can wait until next week. And so you're going to do this instead to look after yourself, like maybe get a lunch break and have your meal prepped and stuff so that you can take that time, or sitting outside when the sun is out or whatever. I think I'm a big advocate for that, like people looking after themselves and putting themselves first a little bit.
Which is absolutely in line with Love One Life.
Exactly.
The purpose of this podcast is to help you enjoy your life more. So if you need to make a decision to look after yourself, then take that decision, make that journey step. So one of the next topics to come on to here is visualization. And something that I've found very useful is you hear sports people doing it. So they'll be sitting maybe in their race car at the beginning of a football game and they're imagining, reaching that first corner, overtaking everybody, coming out ahead. And there's a lot of visualization goes on. You can do the same thing with decision making. And we've done it before and it does help. So whatever the decision is you're facing, imagine you've already made it, visualize it, put yourself there. Are you happy with the decision? Which could go either way, good or bad, or you're not happy with the decision. Will you regret it? Or will you say, actually, I'm good, I've made it, I'm good, I'm moving on?
Mm.
And so visualizing you after the decision helps you make it because you're in a world of pre-decision. You're thinking, so you're looking at a different version of you. You need to look at the post version. And I find that really powerful. How have you used it?
For me, sometimes meetings, online meetings, I'm not a big massive fan of, or phone calls. But I know that when I've done it, do you know what? That was well worth it. That was fantastic. In fact, that was better than I expected. So visualizing a successful Andrea at the end of it is something that powers me through and helps me make the decision faster.
Really interesting way of looking at that because in leadership, being able to make decisions really separates often great leaders from very, very so-so leaders.
Mm.
And in the workplace, in the business place, people are probably used to having to come up with this decisions. And the effective ones are where they can weigh up something and quickly just give people a direction. Yeah, let's do this, let's do that. Now, people can be over-reliant sometimes on their leadership to make decisions, but it's so telling when you work in a place where the leaders can't make decisions and they will ask for ever more research. I'm going to need some more data, not make a decision. And then either the opportunity's gone
Mm-hmm.
or the disasters happen,
Yeah.
that was being avoided. And I think it brings into a couple of things for me that making decisions, sometimes you can't make an instant decision because you just don't have the information. But that's deciding not to decide. But what you can't do is just keep dragging it out. There needs to be, well, what will enable you to make a decision? And let's be pragmatic and then give people a chance to bring you the information to make a decision. I remember we struggled with, a long time ago, we had a camper van and I kept coming up with whether or not we should rent the camper van out to try and make it pay for itself a little more. And I was living in a world of indecision. Should I do it? Should I not? You've got the hassle of renting it out and other people having it, maybe damaging it, versus the profit of being able to rent it out. And so what did you suggest?
I said, let's get this all down on paper. Let's actually plan and plot this out. If we were to rent it out for X amount of weeks over the year, and if it was an average kind of profit of this throughout the year, what does that look like? Like, let's get the data. Let's analyze this. And then when you had done that and you looked at it, it was really poor. It was like a really poor return, wasn't it?
And that again comes back to preparation. So I built the spreadsheet that gave us all the whizzy numbers that answered the questions of, is this going to be financially worth it? And when we did it and we worked it out and I got quotes for insurance, and you're building all the factors, I thought it's really not going to cut its mustard, not for what we would get.
Like,
from
what
it.
would be the point?
Yeah.
That's really not.
So that preparation helped us make a decision because at that point, it's gone from being this thing that's circling around in the back of my head as maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, to we've done some investigation and we've decided it's not worth it. And we never talked about it again, really, other than as an example of a decision.
In a podcast years later.
So go on then. So let's go through some of the top tips that we can give people. So are you ready for some top tips?
Let's go.
That are going to help you make decisions going forward?
We've touched on some of them. Number one, I'm a believer in trust your gut. Okay. So when you think you've got enough information to be able to make a decision, how does it feel? What are the feelings inside? And I do believe that people, as they evolve, should get better with trusting themselves. I think that that is something that's going to be amazing for you in the future if you can get better at trusting yourself and eliminating that fear where, you might be doing the wrong thing or that somebody else is better at making a decision than you are because they often get it right and you think you get it wrong, or, you have to be good with trusting your own gut feelings. It should not be ignored.
Fantastic advice.
Yeah.
Number two.
Write it down. We just talked about this. Write it down, plan it out, and does it all add up? Get the data.
Just like the camper van.
Yeah. So look at it all, plot it out, and go. And this should be able to help you make a much quicker, swifter decision with what you've got.
Number three.
Speak to someone who's done it for advice. Do not try and speak to people who have not done it, because they will tend to give you probably advice from their own perspective. It may be fueled with fear for you, for them. They couldn't imagine it, with this kind of huge decision that you've got to make, or even small decisions of, speaking to a mate who doesn't go to the gym and you're saying, oh, I'm thinking about going to the gym tomorrow, but I'm just not really sure. And they'll be like, well, why don't we meet up for coffee instead and cake? That's not going to help you move on. Whereas if you speak to somebody who does frequent the gym, they're more than likely to tell you, do you know what? These are the benefits from it. This is how I feel after it. That's going to help you way more.
Do you know, I've heard people talk about in the past making decisions not just for you of the moment, but you of tomorrow. So ask yourself about things like that. Should I go to the gym or should I go and meet someone for a coffee?
Yeah.
Is this good for me today and my future self? Will my future self thank me for this decision?
The next one, number 4, we've got prep and pre-decision.
Yeah, so we've talked around prep and pre-decision, but see them as separate. Preparation for a decision you've made and pre-decision, which is I'm deciding before the event that this is what I'm going to do. Sometimes you've got maybe a triggering situation that might be coming up in your life that someone might do something that's going to sort of upset you. But when you're not in the emotional state, you can make one of two decisions. One is this is the decision I'm going to make should that thing occur. And I'm going to make it while in a non-pressured situation so that when the situation arises, I've already pre-decided what I'm going to do. The second one is you can pre-decide to not do anything for at least a day and say, well, I've hit a triggering situation. My pre-decision, I'm not doing anything until I've had at least one day, one sleep, and I can think more clearly.
Think about how it might make you feel is number 5. So that's a visualization piece again. So you want to refresh everybody's memory.
Absolutely. So visualize, put yourself in the position that you've made the decision and you're now looking back at the decision. It's made, it's done. How do you feel about it? Are you happy? Do you have any regrets? Even if the decision doesn't quite work out, will you be happy that you've made the decision? Or if not, do you want to kick the decision into touch and say, I'm not going to do that thing?
And finally, my top tip for decision making is to never decide on anything whilst you are hungry, upset, or drunk. Never decide on anything big or small in those states.
Be of sound mind.
I'm really rubbish at actually making any decisions when I'm hungry. I can't think straight. I don't know about you. I cannot think straight. Fred might be asking me a question and go, well, what about this? And shall we do this? And shall we do that? And I'm just looking at him going, I just need fed. Somebody feed me. I can't do it, Fred.
Right, we have to feed you and then we can carry on.
And then we can carry on and the world is good again. But yeah, that, or when you're really upset, when you're in an angry state, when you're in a frustrated state, when you are in a sad state, those are not the times to be making decisions. You will be heavily outweighed on your emotions. They will not be logical decisions. They will not be practical decisions. So try and either sleep it off, like you're saying, or take a break, or make yourself a herbal tea, or take a minute, get some, breath, some time, some meditation, maybe even anything like that. But don't make the decisions based on heightened states of feelings.
So I think that pretty much wraps us up in terms of what we're going to share and tell people about today. Please remember to subscribe, follow us. If you have any of your own stories around decisions, indecision, procrastination, maybe decisions you've made under duress that you wish you hadn't made, let us know. We can talk about it. We always chat about it online as well, don't we?
Yeah, if you've got any top tips as well that you've used for your own decision-making ability, or there's things that that are just practical day-to-day things that help you make decisions, please do let us know. We're really interested.
Awesome. Thank you so much for watching. This is Love One Life, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.